Imagine stepping outside one evening. You look up, and the night sky no longer looks familiar. The stars are disappearing, not because of clouds, not because of light pollution, but because something unimaginably enormous has appeared around our solar system. A giant nebula, stretching across hundreds of light years. This colossal cloud of gas and cosmic dust slowly surrounds our corner of the galaxy. At first, nobody is afraid. In fact, the entire world is amazed. Social media explodes overnight. Millions of people rush outside with their phones pointed at the sky. Astronomers cancel sleep. Photographers travel across continents. For the first time in human history, every night looks like a masterpiece. Brilliant rivers of glowing purple, massive waves of electric blue, clouds burning with deep crimson and golden orange. The heavens become more colorful than anyone ever imagined. Even people who've never cared about astronomy can't stop looking up. Scientists quickly confirm the impossible. Earth hasn't simply seen a nebula. We've actually entered one. The solar system is now drifting through one of the largest molecular clouds in our region of the Milky Way. These clouds are the birthplaces of stars. They're made of hydrogen, helium, carbon, oxygen, and enormous amounts of microscopic dust. Some are so vast, they contain enough material to create thousands of new stars. For the first few weeks, life seems almost magical. Sunrises become breathtaking, sunsets last longer, the moon glows with strange shades of violet and blue. Even the Milky Way almost disappears behind luminous curtains of colorful gas. Tourism reaches record levels. Every observatory on Earth is filled. Children begin drawing skies unlike anything their parents have ever seen. People call it the most beautiful time in human history. But while humanity is staring upward in wonder, scientists begin noticing something deeply disturbing. The sunlight reaching Earth is becoming weaker. Not by much. Just a tiny fraction, almost impossible to notice without sensitive instruments. At first, nobody worries. After all, the sun still rises every morning. Plants continue growing. The oceans remain calm. Everything seems perfectly normal. But the measurements continue. Day after day, week after week, the amount of sunlight keeps dropping. The nebula isn't just beautiful, it's incredibly dense. Tiny particles of cosmic dust are scattering and absorbing more sunlight than anyone expected. Like an enormous veil slowly being pulled across the solar system, Earth is entering a cosmic fog, and no one yet realizes that this breathtaking display in the sky may be the beginning of the greatest environmental disaster our planet has ever faced. Because beauty can sometimes be the first warning. At first, almost no one notices the change. The colorful nebula still dominates the sky every night. People continue taking breathtaking photos. Children point at glowing clouds stretching from horizon to horizon. The world has never looked more beautiful. But beauty can hide danger. Far above Earth, billions of microscopic dust particles drift through space. Each particle is incredibly small, almost invisible, yet together, they form an enormous cosmic curtain. As Earth moves deeper into the nebula, that curtain becomes thicker. More sunlight is scattered away before it can reach our planet. The sun still shines, but it no longer feels quite the same. Weeks pass. Meteorological satellites detect something unusual. Global temperatures begin falling, not dramatically, only by a fraction of a degree. At first, scientists aren't concerned. Earth's climate changes naturally all the time. But the cooling doesn't stop. 1 month later, the average global temperature has fallen another degree. Then another. The Arctic sea ice begins expanding faster than anyone predicted. Snow remains on mountain peaks much longer than normal. Some regions experience frost during seasons that should be warm. Farmers become the first to notice something is wrong. Crops aren't growing as quickly. Corn fields mature more slowly. Rice harvests begin shrinking. Fruit trees bloom weeks later than expected. The growing season is becoming shorter. Food production starts to decline. Still, most people don't connect these events to the nebula. After all, how could something hundreds of trillions of kilometers across change life on Earth? Then, the skies begin changing again. The familiar blue daytime sky slowly fades. Instead, it takes on strange shades of violet, deep crimson, and glowing orange. Sunsets last for hours. Every evening feels like an endless painting across the horizon. It is breathtaking. Photographers call it the golden age of sunsets. Tourists flood every country searching for the perfect view. No one wants to believe the truth. Those incredible colors are appearing because sunlight is struggling to pass through billions of tons of cosmic dust. The same process that creates beauty is slowly starving Earth of energy. Then comes another surprise. Astronomers notice thousands of shooting stars every night. Not ordinary meteors, but tiny particles from the nebula entering Earth's atmosphere. Most burn up harmlessly. Some create brilliant green, purple, and blue streaks unlike anything ever recorded. The night sky becomes a permanent light show. Humanity celebrates. Festivals are held around the world. People gather outdoors every evening to watch the heavens. No one realizes they are celebrating the beginning of a planetary crisis. Because while everyone is looking up, Earth's ecosystems are quietly beginning to collapse. Plants rely on sunlight. Tiny plankton floating near the ocean's surface rely on sunlight. Entire food chains begin with sunlight. Reduce that energy, and everything above it starts to weaken. The oceans produce less oxygen. Forests grow more slowly. Animals begin changing migration patterns. The first signs of a global ecological collapse have already begun. But the worst part is still ahead. Scientists make one final discovery that leaves the entire world speechless. The nebula surrounding our solar system isn't just made of dust. Hidden deep inside it are regions so dense that gravity has already begun pulling them inward. The birthplaces of brand new stars. And one of those collapsing regions is directly in our path. The announcement spreads across the world within hours. Every major observatory reaches the same conclusion. Deep inside the nebula, a massive cloud of hydrogen is collapsing under its own gravity. At its center, a new star is beginning to form. At first, people are excited. Imagine witnessing the birth of a star. Something that usually takes millions of years, happening in our cosmic neighborhood. It would be the greatest astronomical event in human history. But astronomers aren't celebrating, because the newborn star isn't far away. It's directly ahead of our solar system. And as Earth continues drifting deeper into the nebula, we're moving closer to it. The growing protostar isn't shining like our sun yet. Instead, it's violently pulling enormous amounts of gas and dust toward itself. Around it, gigantic disks of swirling material spin at incredible speeds. Powerful magnetic fields launch blazing jets of plasma thousands of kilometers into space. The entire region becomes unstable. For the first time, humanity watches a star being born. But the closer we get, the more dangerous it becomes. The nebula around us begins changing shape. Enormous rivers of glowing gas stretch across the sky. Some nights, they appear to move with the naked eye. The heavens seem alive. Green curtains ripple across the atmosphere. Purple storms swirl above the clouds. The entire sky becomes brighter than a full moon. Many people no longer sleep. Not because they're afraid, but because they can't stop looking upward. It feels like living inside a dream. Then, the radiation arrives. Young stars are violent. Before becoming stable, they unleash enormous bursts of X-rays, ultraviolet radiation, and powerful streams of charged particles. Earth's magnetic field blocks much of it, but not all. Satellites begin malfunctioning. Astronauts aboard space stations receive dangerous doses of radiation. Communication systems suffer mysterious failures. GPS becomes unreliable. Power grids flicker. Auroras appear far beyond the polar regions. For the first time in recorded history, people in tropical countries watch shimmering green lights dancing across the night sky. Beautiful, yet deeply unsettling. Scientists issue urgent warnings. If the newborn star becomes more active, Earth's atmosphere could begin changing. Ozone molecules may slowly break apart. More ultraviolet light could reach the surface. Skin cancer rates could rise dramatically. Entire ecosystems might struggle to adapt. Then another problem emerges. The nebula itself isn't quiet. Massive shock waves race through the cloud. Some travel hundreds of kilometers every second. These invisible waves compress enormous regions of gas. When one finally reaches our solar system, everything changes. Comets that have slept peacefully for billions of years are disturbed. The distant Oort cloud trembles. Thousands, then millions, of icy bodies begin falling toward the inner solar system. Astronomers stare at their screens in disbelief. Humanity isn't just entering a nebula anymore. We've accidentally awakened a cosmic shooting gallery. Every night, the number of visible comets increases. At first it's dozens, then hundreds. Soon, the sky is filled with glowing trails. Some are breathtaking, others are terrifyingly close. One question now echoes across every nation on Earth. What happens if even one of those giant comets finds our planet? And then, the impossible occurs. A massive object, nearly 30 kilometers wide, changes course. Its new trajectory points directly toward Earth. The object grows brighter. Night after night, what first looked like another distant comet is now impossible to ignore. Every telescope on Earth is pointed toward it. The calculations are repeated, again and again. The answer never changes. If nothing alters its path, it will pass dangerously close to Earth. Panic spreads across the globe. Governments prepare emergency plans. Space agencies launch every available probe. For the first time in history, humanity is not fighting a war against another nation. We're facing the universe itself. Then, something unexpected happens. As the comet enters the thick gas of the nebula, its surface begins to glow. Not from fire, but from sunlight scattering through billions of tiny ice crystals. Its tail stretches millions of kilometers across space. From Earth, it becomes the brightest object in the night sky. More beautiful than any comet humanity has ever witnessed. People gather outside in silence. Some pray, some cry, others simply watch, knowing they may be seeing the last great wonder of civilization. As the comet races closer, Earth begins passing through even denser regions of the nebula. The sky no longer looks blue. Daytime takes on strange shades of violet and amber. Sunlight becomes soft, almost dreamlike. The stars disappear completely behind glowing clouds of cosmic dust. For the first time, humanity can no longer see the universe beyond the nebula. It feels as though Earth has entered another dimension. Then, the comet reaches its closest point. Every person on Earth holds their breath. It passes just beyond the Moon's orbit, close enough for its gravity to slightly disturb Earth's tides, but not close enough to strike. The planet survives. Cities erupt in celebration. People believe the danger is finally over. But the scientists remain silent. Because the comet was never the greatest threat, the nebula itself continues surrounding the solar system. Year after year, less sunlight reaches Earth. Global temperatures keep falling. Harvests become smaller. Oceans produce less oxygen. Entire ecosystems slowly change. Humanity adapts. Gigantic orbital mirrors are built to redirect sunlight. Artificial farms grow beneath enormous glass domes. Fusion reactors power cities that no longer depend entirely on the sun. Our civilization evolves, not because we wanted to, but because the universe forced us to. Generations are born beneath skies painted with glowing rivers of purple, blue, and gold. Children grow up believing this breathtaking sky is normal. Only history books remember the time when space was black, and the stars were clear. Then, millions of years later, our solar system finally drifts out of the nebula. The familiar night sky returns. The Milky Way shines once again. The strange colors slowly disappear. Humanity looks upward, and realizes something profound. The nebula never hated us. It never tried to destroy Earth. It was simply doing what nebulae have always done. Giving birth to new stars, reshaping worlds, and reminding us that, in the vast universe, beauty and danger are often the same thing. Perhaps that's the greatest lesson of all. Sometimes, the most breathtaking sight in the cosmos is also the one that changes everything.